That's you, and that's your deathbed. You are a few minutes away from your last breaths. In these last few minutes that you have, you think back on your life and you ask yourself, what really mattered? Flashback to today, and we have to ask ourselves, what's important enough that we'll look back on our life when we are old and say, yep, that really mattered. Because it can be everything. Most of what we do isn't really all that important. I wouldn't say it's not important, but rather what constitutes daily life or life in general isn't all of that memorable or relevant in the grand scheme of things. For example, we almost never remember our commuting after our first few hours. It's just part of our daily life, and we'll likely not look back and think, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful I got to spend so much time in traffic. We spend so much time working overtime, yet we'll never think back and say, oh yeah, I'm so happy I lost so much sleep and time I could have spent in other ways other than work. We are so angry so often, and yet after just a few hours, we never really keep our anger or are happy to have been angry about something. I'd like to argue that at the very end of the day, when all is said and done, when you're at the finish line of your life, there will be very, very few things that you'll be happy that you've actually done. We may argue that there are some things that are objectively important for the human condition. A list of very limited things which more or less apply to all individuals having a human experience. Most often than not, you'll be much happier about the people you've introduced in your life, the life you've shared with them, the experiences you've made together along the way, rather than the stuff you brought into your home. You'll likely be happier about what you're leaving behind, about your legacy, about the people which are living a different life, a better life, because of you, rather than the amount of alcohol you could chug in an hour and for how long you can stay disconnected from life. You're likely to care more about the experiences you've had, the person you've grown yourself into over the years, rather than all of the life you've seen others live on screens. Now, I say that with a little bit of a caveat. Those are things that usually do apply to the human experiences, but not necessarily. There's no clear-cut answer for what will be fruitful for you to have done and have been. Nobody can really decide what's important for you. Nobody. Other than you. You see, you have the ultimate power in designing your life worth living. Your kind of life that will really have mattered to you. And the best part? There's no really bad answer. You get to make your own answers. For most of my life, I've struggled with accepting what I wanted. I'd see other people want a kind of life or some kind of experiences I wouldn't, but I'd beat myself up for not wanting that and not accomplishing something I didn't even want in the first place. The most trivial example I can give is related to clubs. I've never really enjoyed clubs. I've never really enjoyed any part of the experiences related to clubs, and yet most of the people I've known were enjoying it, or at least I perceived that was so. You see, I was defining myself with what I ought to be doing. I was trying hard to pursue a kind of life that wasn't my own, and I kept being miserable while I was pursuing a kind of life which I didn't even want. In your case, it may be that you really love tea and you want a cup in your hand at any moment. It may be that you really love shoes and you want to open a museum with all of the shoes that you have. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as that is what's important for you. But how do you find what's important for you? In some cases, it may have dawned on people that, hey, what I want to do for the rest of my existence, and the only thing that I care about, is golf. But for the rest of us, how do we architect what is important for us? Well, I have 3 suggestions which should be checked out regularly as our desires in life change, as we change, as what we want and what we really care about in life changes along the way. First up, the regret minimization framework. This way of organizing your life revolves around what you will most regret not having done at the end of your life. It may be that you'll most regret not having written a book, or not having pursued your career as a comedian, or not having taken the time to raise your family. Second framework I call the legacy framework. It's about focusing on the day-to-day, on the actions you take daily and how they reflect after you are gone. A better way to put it is, how will other people remember you? That person who is also interested in coffee, or that party person, or the individual that had always something really deep to say. Last but not least, it's great to think about what you want out of life, but we should also negotiate with ourselves what we are willing and unwilling to sacrifice in order to get that which we desire. Are you willing to sacrifice not having a family in the name of giving everything to your career? Are you willing to give up seeing your children for a while in order to go around the world performing at shows? Are you willing to give up your comfort zone in order to afford traveling to a new country every month? But say you've made up your mind and you know what really matters for you. Between these 2 points of where you are right now and what really matters, there's a deep valley called reality. Okay, it is not quite a valley, it's more like a mountain with a lot of ups and downs. It's very easy to say, yeah, the only important thing for me is coffee. But there are a lot of other things that you have to deal with, from taxes to getting money for all of that coffee, other adult responsibilities, and even just needing to take a break from what you really want in order for it to be even tastier the next time you get it. When I say that, oh, what I really want in life is to go do comedy, it's not quite as simple as quitting everything and just pursuing comedy for the rest of our lives. We do have to take a lot into account in real life, the responsibility we have on our shoulder and the people that count on us to pay the bills or provide food. But even so, if you are watching this video right now, there are very few real things that can drag us down into a state of inability to pursue that which we deeply desire. There are very few problems that are truly unsolvable towards the tip of the mountain that we may call what really matters. And out of those problems, there are very few real problems that are truly the thing we have to deal with in reality, rather than just in our minds. Our freedom, our exquisite lack of limits of how we wish to architect our lives and what really matters in our lives is both the greatest gift, but can also be the greatest burden. Realizing that having a life worth living, a life lived on your own terms, is all up to you, can be really daunting, but I'm sure that it is a burden which you are more than capable of carrying. And I have faith that you will not consider that a burden, but rather freedom. See you when I see you.